A CTE, or Common Table Expression, specifies a temporary named result set. CTEs are created from simple queries, that is, within their body contains a select statement. The syntax is with CTE1 as open and closed brackets some query statement, where CTE1 is the name of your CTE, and some query statement is the query. So when would you need to use a CTE? I use them to break up complex queries, especially complex joins and subqueries. The example that I will show next will hopefully enforce the subject a little more. CTEs are a little beyond the basics of this course in terms of understanding them, but I wanted to introduce them to you briefly so that you can do further research on the subject, and so that when you come across one in the real world, it's not so much of a shock. Let's head over to SQL Server Management Studio for a demo. In this demo, I have created a common table expression with the name called sales_CTE. You can see that it starts with the keyword with, followed by the name, and then the as keyword, followed by open and closed brackets. Within the brackets, I will define the body of the CTE, which is a select statement, selecting the customer ID. The delivery date, you will notice that I've surrounded this column with the year function. This allows me to grab the year value from the date data type. I then use the as keyword to alias this column as sales year. And I have used a where statement on delivery date column looking for orders that have a delivery date. The is not null search condition allows the results to only return orders with a delivery date. After the closing bracket, you will see the select statement. I am selecting the columns from the CTE, that is customer ID. Notice I have also used the count function on this column, and I've aliased this column as total sales. Next, I am selecting the year column. Notice that this column is the alias column name from the sales CTE. I am using the group by clause in this query. The group by clause groups customer ID and sales year together. Let me show you an example to further illustrate the group by clause. I will run the following query. In its output, you can see it returns the customer ID and the delivery year column. We can see that we have customer ID 1 shown 2 times, customer ID 3 shown 2 times, customer ID 2 shown 2 times, and customer ID 5 shown 2 times. Next, we can see that the year 2019 and 2020 are shown twice. Let's quickly switch over to a theory slide to show more information. Going back to our group by statement, where we have grouped by customer ID and sales year, we can break this down. First, let's group the customer ID. You can see in the image shown on the left side that we have our customer ID column shown on the left, and on the right we have a second table showing those customer IDs. What this is showing, and what essentially the group by is doing, it's looking for all the repeating values and then grouping them into one group. So the 2 1s become one group, the 2 3s become another group, and so on. It's the same for the sales year. The 2 2019s become one group, and the 2 2020s become another group. Let's go back to SQL Server Management Studio. With the theory out of the way on the group by statement, going back to the count function, which needs to be used with a group by statement, this will count all the customer IDs within a group of customer IDs. For example, customer ID 1 appears twice within the customer ID 1 group. We saw this in the previous theory slide. Next, I have the order by statement. The order by statement is sorting on the total sales aliased column. By default, the order by statement sorts in ascending order. We can change this to sort in descending order by adding the keyword desk as shown. Let me run the code so you can see the output. As a rule, you need to use the group by statement whenever you are using any sort of aggregation function or using the count function. Let me show you what happens when you use the count function but don't specify the group by statement. we get an error in the select list because it's not contained in either an aggregate function or the group by clause. Next, we will be looking at how we join between more than one table.